Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome back for episode 83 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on April 28th, 2017 on twitch.tv. Big shout out to the live chat here. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. This is your host, Blue Crew 86. Alongside me, we have the man who has taken upon himself to kill me with laughter, Justin Sane 0516. Justin, how has your week been?
My week has been pretty hectic, actually. I had a young man roll his ankle, and I thought maybe he broke his foot. Went to the hospital, x-rays. He's okay. And played a little Destiny.
Nice.
And
got any good drops?
That was... Yeah, I got some more Crota weapons, because... Oh, I did get a 400 sword breaker, so there's that.
I hate you a little bit.
I've got raid fever, baby. It's hit me. Bring back that old stuff. I didn't do Wrath of the Machine when it came around because I figure I've already hit my head into a wall once.
Oh, God.
But all the other ones I've been all about.
Oh, gosh.
You didn't want to go into the binary and translate all that?
No.
Okay.
No.
I love the binary part.
I've done that once. That's enough, you know.
One and there's 10 type of people in the world.
I'm type A.
Those who know binary and those who don't.
All right. Well, Mel is working while we're here playing around, so be sure to let her know we miss her over on Twitter at The Wind of the Stars. And from the depths of the madness-inducing mind maps, we are joined by our favorite Gunter, the one and only green-eyed music lover. Green, hope you're doing well. How's the week gone for you?
Not too bad. Went into the gym today, found out it's supposed to snow where I'm at. And I'm like, why? Why snow? Why are you snowing in this area? It's almost May. It's time to be done. I'm so ready for spring.
Did you seriously just scold some snow?
Totally. That's how my day's gone. Not only am I scolding snow today, Justin, I also spent 3.5 hours doing something for Blue that's like super sneaky secret stuff.
It's totally worth it, though.
3.5 hours.
That's not my fault. For clarification there, I did not, or have I ever asked Green to give 3.5 hours to any project?
No, but I love Blue, so I do it anyway. And I'm a sucker.
And you scolded some snow.
Yeah, totally.
So for the record, my son was born in the beginning of May, and it snowed on the day that he was born. So
really
have fun with that. I'm like going the way that this weather is going right now. I'm kind of like we might see another one of those birthday parties. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, snow in the middle of May. It's okay. Kansas, you cannot be more bipolar. You just can't figure out what you want to do.
It definitely reminded me of growing up in Texas.
I was about to say, being in Texas, I have no sympathy for you. If you don't like the weather in Texas, just wait 10 minutes.
You get all four seasons.
Here. It's the same thing here. I got
weather by Sybil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's run through the intro real quick before we get completely off and Justin and Green start scolding the weather. So, all right, here we go. The topic of today's chat is going to be an exploration of the Wrath of the Machine raid. I asked Green to put together a high-level summary on the topic, and this is what she had to say.
Fallen have a propensity for technology. They are scavengers who, without understanding the original purpose, use various tech in their own particular way to improve upon their own designs. Most of the time, this doesn't cause too much harm, but for House Devils, this spelled out a great transformation that may not have been entirely of their own doing. Devil Splicers merged with Siva, becoming something new. Something part fallen, part machine, and a whole lot of
consume, enhance, replicate.
At the insistence of Shiro 4, we and a group of Guardians venture forth to destroy the head of the fallen splicers, Axis, in Wrath of the Machine. Throughout the raid, we slowly break down the Devil Splicers' leadership. First, by taking out the ground troop leader, Vosik, the Archpriest, and then their engineer responsible for the siege engine, Mexis, before taking out the fully transformed Axis, Archon Prime. Where does the Fallen end and Siva begin? How much can one retain of their humanity? Fallen entity? Anyway, and how can we, the immortal Guardians, defeat a machine god?
Before we get into that, however, I do have a few housekeeping notes. In our last chat, we looked at the updated lore of the Awoken and Fallen. If you missed that and have any interest in hearing our thoughts, please be sure to check out www.focusfirechat.com for archives of all previous chats, as well as links to the other aspects of Focus Fire Chat out in the internets. If you don't mind, please give us some feedback on iTunes to let us know how we're doing and to help us continue to grow. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. This chat begins every Tuesday morning and runs until the following Tuesday, with topics decided by the group via a poll that begins every Friday and ends on the Tuesday morning of the new chat. Every Friday, at about 10 p.m. Central, we get together to stream a recap of the previous week's chat for those who are unable to participate. Please be sure to also give some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network found at theguardiansofdestiny.com. These include Guardian Radio, the official podcast for the Guardians of Destiny, Guardian 1, Ghost and Echoes, which also has the Destiny audio Grimoire, and the network's newest edition, a non-Destiny focused podcast, Paragon Radio. Our next chat's going to be a dive into the lore surrounding the powerful Sunbreakers. With that, let's go ahead and dive into the information and thoughts that the community had about the Wrath of the Machine. Lorebot, let's go.
Query Grimoire database. Results found. Displaying on screen.
Thank you, Randy. Well done, as always. So, the Wrath of the Machine. And this Grimoire card is from an intercepted Fallen signal. It says, fellow houses, fellow Elixni, we have found the means to apotheosis, to become machines. Siva can make you strong, but we can show you how to wield it, to free yourself from the bonds of ether. Find us in the wasteland and bring us an offering of Siva. In return, we will bring you to our chamber of perfection, and we will free you. Yeah, just because you say you're going to free me doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're going to do. But
Look, there's free candy. It's all I heard there. It's
kind of what I'm hearing.
It's a van that has the paneled sides.
So
really poorly painted free candy on it.
Pretty much. Just this van with just like nanites buzzing around it. And there's this really creepy Fallen in inside with a Rush t-shirt on.
Rush t-shirt on?
Yeah, he's got a Rush t-shirt on. He's trying to give the little dregs here always.
I'm sorry, but that's like, as you read that, that's exactly what I was picturing.
Did you see the Rush t-shirt too?
I didn't see the Rush t-shirt. I was just thinking the paneled van with the, have you ever seen that meme with the paneled, the really bad van? We need to make that. That's our new project.
Oh no.
It's in the hopper right behind House Waffle.
Chat, come on, little dregs. I have free.
Yeah. I've got here always.
Oh, it's not even ether. It's like you don't need ether. I will get rid of your craving.
Oh my god. What's the one that you love from the Ghost Fragment? Is it the Here Always?
Yeah, the Here Always. It's like the Snickers of the Fallen world.
Oh my god.
So I love that we have in here. He says he's found the means to apotheosis, to become machines. So the devil splicers are actually considering being perfected as being deified, and
Right.
Because that's how they view machines to begin with. But it's kind of a contradiction, just because I think part of the reason they deify the machines is because of the life-giving ether, right?
Yeah, I mean that's generally what a lot of people kind of think. I wanted to really touch back on that apotheosis thing. Apotheosis literally means it's the highest point in the development of something. It's usually the culmination or climax of a particular arc. And so when they say that they have found the means to apotheosis, they have found the means to evolve, to go through a metamorphosis is what they're saying. And so usually the assumption that they view the machines as gods. I mean, you have from the Elixir time, you have the Great Machine, i.e. the Traveler. And then from during the collapse, basically, yeah, the general consensus is that the Servitors were the ones that were creating the ether, which is kind of necessary for them to, I don't know, continue to live. So kind of tied into that whole manna from heaven, scenario. Literally, it's what allowed them to continue living. But
that's why they were called the Primes. They were the ones that were given ether.
Right, and that's where you have like the Elder Ciphers, which is what the Kells would use to distribute the ether to those that they claim to be quote unquote worthy. And this actually, we'll definitely get into this. And Green, you and I have talked about this particular theory, but it definitely kind of ties into kind of a theory that I'm actually a fan of in regards to Axis, as to maybe there is more logic to the whole consume, enhance, replicate strand of logic or the command strand than a lot of people give him credit for. And we'll definitely get into that. I think we'll wait until we talk about Axis actually to get into that, because there's a theory that I read last week, I think, and it made me reevaluate pretty much how I've looked at Axis and the entirety of the splicers, really, because of the point that it made. And it actually presented some logical connections between things that I hadn't really thought about. And so I really like it. We'll read it when we get to that part. But do you guys want to jump into Vosik, or do you want to go? You want to start at part 1?
I had a question about this card actually before we move on.
Oh, the Wrath and Machine card?
Yeah. Just they actually solicit some offerings of Siva. They say, "Come find us in the wasteland and bring us an offering of Siva." Is this maybe a description of the Archons Forge? It would literally you would come to the Archons Forge, bring a Siva offering, just like we have to do to get in there,
right?
And then you would become perfected.
Well, you would start on the path. So, and that's a really, really good point. And actually, if you guys don't mind, I'll pull up Archon's Forge real fast, because I didn't include that in the show notes, but now that you say that, I realize that I would overlook that. Do you guys mind if I read that real fast?
Yeah, you're welcome, Blue.
Okay, thanks, Justin, for catching my failure yet again. So Archon's Forge says the Archon's Forge is an ancient fallen rite of passage twisted to utilize the Devil Splicer's latest discovery. Fallen seek to improve their station within the Splicer's quickly evolving caste by making offerings of dormant Siva to the Forge. Their worth is then tested in a trial by combat. The offering's quality, fused, enhanced, perfected, determines the severity of the challenge and, in turn, the level of augmentation the petitioner will be granted should they survive. That a guardian would dare challenge the Forge with offerings of their own is an affront the Splicers will not take lightly. Not that we really care. So to answer your question, Justin, yes, that is exactly what it is. It is literally come to the Archons Forge. And the thing here that is really interesting for me is that this is not something that the splicers created. It specifically is something that was a rite of passage that the splicers took over. So the Archons Forge kind of has that sense of, this is where you would come maybe to before Siva. This is where they would come to offer to the Kel or to the Archon who, so you have to also remember within the Fallen Triumvirate, you have the Kel, you have the Servitor Prime or the Prime Servitor, and then you have the Archon, the Archon or Archon. I think it's just Archon. I'm going off the top of my head there, so I apologize if I got that title incorrect. But those are the three main things. So, and the way that the reason I call it a triumvirate is because it really is. It's a very kind of reminiscent of the Roman triumvirates. Each of these three is basically the equal of the other, but they're not, because in each different position holds a different, I guess you would call it, a sphere of influence. The Servitor is more of basically Servitor was responsible for maintaining and upkeeping the ships and to pilot and to create ether. That was its main function. And because of that, it was kind of raised into a godhood. It was raised to an equivalent position of the Kel simply because it was the source of life for the Fallen. The Kel is basically the political powerhouse. The Kel orders what the Fallen within that house goes. Like and the reason why is it ties into the Servitor. They have an item called the Elder Cipher, which is a device that they use in some fashion to distribute the ether to the Fallen underneath them. So that's how they have secured their power, because first off, they have first pickings. It's a very, very hierarchical society. And you can see this in the way that the different Fallen enemy types, those are different castes within the Fallen house. And you'll notice as they get higher, so you go Dreg, Vandal, Captain, and then you get the Archon, and then you get into like those Archons, what was it? It wasn't Winter's Run. What was the really annoying one from Vanilla? The Archon Priest. Why did I just blank on the Strike?
The Archon Priest?
Yeah.
Like, what's the Archon's name?
I think that was Winter Run.
Was that Winter's Run?
Yeah, it's Winter's Run Strike is what it is.
Okay. Well,
Axor, the Archon Priest.
Axor! Oh, God. I killed that guy so many times. It was really annoying. But the reason why he's immense...
For him or you?
Both. The reason why he's immense is because he is an Archon. He is one of the highest members in the house. Yeah. And so Ether... He takes his off the top. Right. Ether, well, he gets the lion's share. And, for those who don't know that's the hierarchy of everything. It determines everything. It determines when you get to eat, when you get to do whatever else you want to do, sleep, all that stuff. That is determined by your hierarchy. And as a figure at the top, these three kind of get their choice. Now, that goes back into what are the splicers? We kind of talk about this, and we talked about this a little bit with Siva and then in our House of Devils episode. But splicers seem to be a fragment or a fraction, it's a fragment of the Archon caste, I guess you would call it. It's basically they're basically the lower end priest, because the Archon is, so you have the Kel, who's the king, the Servitor, who is basically their god or mini demigod, the life giver, the Archon. The Archon is the priest that translates what the Servitor is doing for the Kel. He's basically the mediator, right? Because all three of them, here's the thing about the Roman Triumvirate. All three of those figures hate each other. They don't like each other because they all understand that they all understand the necessity of having each other, because without each other, they don't have power. But at the same time, the reason that they are in the power positions that they are is because they've always been the type of, usually those are the type of personalities that gravitate towards power. They want more power. And so they're always competing with one another. It's a very fine line. It's a razor's edge that they're dancing on, because if they actually do manage to kill one of the three, they have to replace him. Like you can't, the triumvirate can't exist without the three legs of the stool. But the three legs of the stool are trying to kill each other. So,
but the other thing I'd say, I mean, Blue, this whole raid is about the fact that they've broken that triumvirate.
Yes, and the reason why is
sidestepped the
necessity. Like they've sidestepped, and that's where that's and Damo will go off on this. That's the chains of ether. If you break the chains of ether, what happens is, all of a sudden, you don't need a triumvirate, because you don't need a servitor, you don't need the Kel, and guess what? The Archon, one of their side jobs is basically the mechanics. So what do? They are the mediators. They're the only ones that actually have a function that isn't soul. I mean, and that's a very, very heavy generalization, but they are basically the one piece of this triumvirate that don't rely on ether for their power. They do, but only because they're playing the servitor off the Kel. That's the reason why. And I mean, their main function is, hey, we need to make sure that the servitor and all the servitors, the pilot servitors, which were kind of crucial, because they were flying between galaxies at that point. So pilots were, a little necessary, because you need to know where you're going. That's what the Archons did, was they upkept all these machines. And so it makes sense then that your splicers are led by an Archon, because they're machine lovers. They love machines. And all of a sudden now, machine, which they already, we already have seen a deification of the machines within the Fallen Society. Now all of a sudden they found a machine that has negated the use of ether. They don't need ether, because they are now, and they have augmented themselves. They've enhanced themselves with Siva. So,
but it's worth noting in this is not the great deal that sounds like. It's
right.
It's at the sacrifice of a fair bit of autonomy. And,
right.
Yeah, like you don't need ether anymore. But
you also don't have self-awareness. So, hey, that's cool.
Yeah. You're going to get to say, you're going to get to do the whole enhance replicate thing.
Oh, hang on. I think I have that. Over. Here we go. This is what you hear all the time.
Consume, enhance, replicate.
In your head. That's all you get.
All day long.
You get to nom. It's basically what was the one theory that I saw that I had put up for the TLDR? He wants to become a living Katamari. That's what you are.
So literally the choices for the Fallen are be enslaved in this kind of perverted meritocracy where you're kept down by a controlled supply of life force, if for lack of a better term, or you can literally just become a computer virus.
It's not really. Okay.
I'm not wrong.
Siva's not a computer virus. It's programmable nanomachines.
No. I'm saying I'm talking about in terms of your day-to-day existence.
Your day-to-day.
You will behave a whole lot like a computer virus,
right?
Well, a computer virus once it's infected software,
right.
It'll just go. It doesn't care what day of the week it is. It doesn't care if it's Taco Tuesday. It's just going.
Right.
And that's what Siva's like.
They traded the chains of ether for the shackles of Siva.
Yeah.
And Green, I know you had You had something on Siva offerings.
Yeah, we go back a little ways to the color of the Siva offerings, because it always kind of blew my mind that they would bring little vials of the Siva offerings, and that reminded me of the Sector ARG that we did way back or whatever, where they had like brilliance, glory, magnificent.
Oh yeah.
What was the other ones?
The
All those fortitude.
Yeah, I think that was the other one.
The different vials are different colors. And Siva, whenever we encounter Siva with the splicers, is always red. So why would not activated Siva or not designated Siva be different colors?
Well, I have a theory on that too, but I mean, I don't think the nanites were Siva, but
it just makes me spin foily just thinking right. Maybe those are actually some of the other types that we encountered beforehand, like aliens.
Oh, you think that the offerings might actually be
the others,
the whatever brilliance, glory, splendor, magnificence, or fortitude.
Mm-hmm. The different experiments that were happening with Bray and Willow Bray and Dr. Shirazi.
Yeah, Shirazi.
I think is it.
Dr. Shirazi. Oh,
it just makes me wonder if that's what that is. It's just a very spin-foily thing. There's no actual connection whatsoever besides just the color of it. But it's kind of a fun little rabbit hole.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, and I think the other thing is, so the other thing to remember is Siva's function really is to construct, right? That's the point of Siva, is it's a construction. One of the best descriptions that I've seen is so my son is obsessed with Big Hero 6. If you're in our Discord chat, you know this because that is all he watches. Actually, that's not true. I got him to watch Bolt today. So we have broken the Big Hero 6 tyranny for momentarily. But one of the big figures, or one of the big components in the Big Hero 6 is the microbots, right? Microbots require a controller. And one of the best scenes, I think, is when Hero is showing the potential of all the microbots and what they can do. It's near the beginning, but he actually constructs things, and he's talking, and he's like, things that would take teams of people a week and months will take one person a day, and he builds this little tower thing. But I was like, and then I was reading one of these theories that we were going to talk about here in a second, and they actually made that point. They're like, you have to understand that Siva doesn't have sentience. Siva is not self-aware. Siva has no capacity for self-awareness because it is not built to. It's you have to understand that Siva is basically the microbots from Big Hero 6. They do what they do because they are programmed to do it, which is where the consume, enhance, replicate thing becomes so dangerous, because there's no end phrase to that. It's just going to continuously build. But the thing that Siva does is that it destroys to take those materials and then reconstruct them into something else. And so that's where you get this idea of this transformation, is because the reason why it's quote unquote freeing them from the ether, the reason that it's freeing them from the ether is it's literally consuming the fallen and replacing them with fill in the blanks. For you get the pirate peg legs, or I can't even remember what do the Vandals have. The Vandals just have guns. They have peg legs.
Very annoying guns.
Yeah. So I mean, aren't the shock blades embedded in their arms too, to a degree?
Yeah, they're pretty gnarly.
So I mean, it's that's what I was that's all I've kind of always thought it. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh yes, that is the best example ever.
Not only is Siva not sentient, it would be counterproductive for it to be sentient. Any type of technology where you've got nanomites, nanobots, whatever nanotechnology of, in the millions of mechanisms all performing one task, it would be counterproductive to have each individual mechanism be self-aware, because then instead of performing its specific little task, it asks questions like, who am I? Why am I here? Why am I next to all these other things that look like me? That's counterproductive.
Right.
It's
almost like an exo with a moral component for a war machine, right?
Mm-hmm. It's not practical to have.
I love that card. It's just like
that card is pretty good.
The defense against an AI having personality. It's like, I'm a war machine. What use do I have of emotions? None.
Yeah.
It's like the most counterproductive thing to put in a war machine.
Making a robot a war machine and giving it a conscience is just cruel.
It really is. It really is.
It's sadistic. It's sadistic. It's not nice at all.
It's not nice at all. Well, and I guess talking about self-awareness and consciousness to kind of get us back on track here a little bit. Do we want to jump to Vosik?
Yes. Lord Trapezoid.
Oh, trapezoids. This guy just reminds me of, what is it? Silent Hill. Pyramid Head. Green, did you want to grab that card real quick?
Sure. Vosik, the Archpriest. As an Archpriest, Vosik is second in command of the Devil Splicers and will follow Access into ascending to godhood someday. Vosik had been enhanced by Siva, but lacks the total apotheosis of Axis Archon Prime. Vosik wields the technology to build and maintain a body for Axis. Nothing more, nothing less. In due time, Vosik will ascend. All of his people will, and the worlds will fall.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, yeah. Big baddie from the beginning of the raid that we fight twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just throw little balls at him and he'll eventually be defeated and retreat.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, does anyone else feel like he was in a school play about shapes?
No, I swear to God, he's Pyramid Head. Like, he is Vosik, the Arch Pyramid Head. Chat doesn't like that idea.
They don't like that at all.
Well, and it's understandable. I completely understand. I do like that one of his arms is completely trapezoidal. Like, it is completely geometric shapes. I'm like, I don't really know what you're going to do with that, buddy, but that does not look pleasant.
Yeah, and he's a pain in the butt. Let's put it that way.
It's just really weird because the opening of the raid, you have these just energy spikes all over the place that aren't explained, and then you have to feed the energy into the Siva charge dispensers. The foundries, that's what they're called. The spinners. Yeah,
the
spinners of doom. And then they drop the Siva balls. You throw them at him. You drop his shields. You do damage. And then he runs away like a chicken.
No, literally, he runs like a chicken.
He runs away like a chicken, balking the whole way, jumping from little platform to platform.
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, dodge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
twice.
I was reading Black Flag in chat with dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
No, I know what that's a quote from. I was saying the next quote from that movie that quote came from.
Oh, okay.
So
okay, so he runs away, and then we go and fight him in his place. And here's the thing that makes me angry. He's got all of his energy and his health back.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid Siva recharge like in 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, technically that would make sense if he found a patch of Siva, because it could just, consume something and enhance it.
it's like his little. Okay, so here's my little rant about this raid. I love all the raids. Here's my little rant. Every single fight in this raid, every single battle, with the exception of the servitor room, is like a fight on a rock concert stage. You got the like rock star on the stage, and you're firing at him.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a bad concert.
Yeah, like throwing tomatoes. We're throwing Siva tomatoes at him.
So basically, he was not able to dodge a wrench.
No, he's a bad Daft Punk, like, copycatter.
Oh, well, right there, I'm gonna go. We need to kill him. You don't copyright infringe Daft Punk.
You gonna kill him one more time? Then we gonna celebrate?
One more time.
No, yeah. That is a little bit of a troubling. Yeah, I'm with you, Green. The initial part of that raid kind of is a little weird. Also, I feel like he's a Bond villain. He's like, yes, Mr. Bond, you'll never figure out how to. Oh, you're throwing him. Damn it!
Run away!
But here's the question:
why did I create this elaborate mechanism to ensure my demise? No, like I just don't get it. But whatever. Yeah.
I mean, unless the Siva foundries.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, unless the Siva foundries are there to create the charges to infuse with all the different ones, but it doesn't make sense that they're outside to me. Because isn't the perfection chamber like the forge itself, or like inside the perfection chamber?
Yeah.
Lore-wise, it's just me trying to make sense of the lore.
Yeah, but maybe this is the foundries are the way that if, Fallen wanted to gain admittance, that they would do so.
I'm still stuck on him being a Bond victim. Oh, maybe the trigger blade's calling the triangle. So yeah, correction. Kovic is Pyramid Head. Vosik is kind of Pyramid Head wannabe. But yes, maybe that's a backpack.
Vosik is Pyramid Shoulder.
Pyramid Shoulder. So Trigger's pointing out that that's a backpack. Maybe that's where he keeps the shark. Because Bond villains always have the shark that they threaten him with.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it's a land shark.
Oh, no.
I love how both of us went there.
Lord Jansport. The land shark.
The Cabal are not the only ones with the land shark.
Yes. No, they aren't. So, yeah. Oh, Vosik. This is the most anyone's ever talked about Vosik. I feel like his ears are burning if he had him.
The other thing is... The other thing, too, that I wanted to kind of point out for just reading this card and then kind of thinking about what Siva does to these individuals is... So first off, when you hear that he's second in command and will follow Axis and ascending to godhood someday, you would think immediately that, oh, well, maybe Vosik is impatient. Maybe Vosik is going to try to replace Axis. Except he's Siva. And the thing about Siva is that as it consumes, it probably connects with the other pieces of Siva. And this is going to become really important when we start talking about Axis, because Axis is, guess what? Siva. Like it. So there's a theory here that's kind of in my head that, the apotheosis that is being talked about, that this total apotheosis of Axis, Archon Prime, that means that he's literally going to become one with our Axis. Like every Fallen and everything, as Siva consumes and enhances and replicates these individuals, they are going to become the same. They're going to merge into a giant single entity. Yeah, Black Flag and chat, hive mind, kind of. It's going to be it's going to be a grave mind. But it's
don't
not.
Do that.
It's not. It's not because Siva.
Don't do that because it won't.
Yeah, it won't. Siva doesn't gain. Siva gains information because that's where you get the dormant Siva clusters, is you get the memory fragments. So it gains information, but without the component within which to have self-actualization and, self-awareness, basically, it's a repository. It'd be like me finding external hard drives, right?
Yeah, Siva learns about as much as a database learns.
Right. No, yes. That's a very good. It's inserting rows into a database, but I'm not worried about my SQL server coming back and, hurting me if I put commands in that it doesn't like. It's just gonna run the query and give me the information. Like there is no self-awareness within the actual device that is being utilized to query the database. It's built to query the database. That's what it is. And that's what Siva does. So, here's
the question real quick, going back to before we move on from that card. It talks about how Vosic is kind of the mechanic for Axis.
Mm-hmm.
Has Axis lost his ability to modify himself?
Let's talk about that. Let me read the card real quick, and then we're going to talk about that, because that's part of the theory that I really want to get into. So Axis, Archon Prime. So Green, hold on to that real quick. Axis is the fruit of the Devil Splicer's labor. A former Archon priest, Axis has submerged himself in Siva's apotheosis and emerged as Archon Prime. All that he was is gone. His dreams, his hopes, replaced by agency. He has shed his gods and his ether-like skin, and in his uplifted state waits in his perfection complex for offerings of Siva from all fallen. Okay, so going back to your question about the autonomy that Axis has. First off, and I know you had a specific call out for this one, is the name, right? Axis is an Archon Prime. The significance of that is that usually you have a Prime Servitor and an Archon. You don't have those don't ever go together. And so now you have a merging of the two, because Axis is becoming both the priest and the god. He is becoming a divine avatar, basically, of this deification of self. Now, the theory that I was mentioning was one from, let me make sure I get this guy's name right, Blackbeard's Ghost over on Reddit. And it's a really interesting one. It's a really good one, actually. I'm a huge fan of it, because what he basically puts in is that the perfection chamber is an incubation area for Axis while he uses Siva to make himself bigger, which is what all fallen all want to do. And so eventually he's going to consume all available resources, i.e. the earth, and be so large that he will be deserving of the godhood that he is chasing, right? So he is literally following these psychological makeup, and I'm gonna include a link to this post over on Reddit, because I really, really like how he lays it out. But all fallen they've always been obsessed with growing larger. That's how you determine your hierarchy. That's how you determine the rank within the fallen society, is how large are you?
I'm a big boy
now. And so but what that means is, what is their definition of a god? It's
the biggest thing.
Yeah, the biggest, the baddest. And
so
that's where the joke of he wants to become a living Katamari comes from. He wants to eat, and if that Katamari is a game in which you basically run around and consume things, or not really consume things, but you collect them. You roll around and you collect. Eventually, you get large enough that you start collecting like planets and galaxies, and like you basically just the entire game is basically get big enough to collect the universe. Like that's the entire point. And that's kind of exactly what's happening here. But what I'm
kind of like Kirby.
Oh God.
Yeah, well, Katamari, Kirby consumes, and then
poops you out and takes your powers.
Yeah, he actually takes the powers, but he's not able. So like the difference between Kirby and a Katamari is Kirby is only allowed to like consume one person at a time, right? Like he can't consume 5. A Katamari just keeps rolling, and as it gets bigger, he can collect more and 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 more. Oh God, there's a different Kirby. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Charmed is correcting me.
Hypernova Kirby.
Hypernova Kirby can eat planets. That's absolutely terrifying. No.
That's
For I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Nommers of worlds.
Okay. Hey, Blue, to jump in a little bit on the talk about the Prime.
Yes, go for it.
Of access. So, if you go back into the traditional hierarchy within the Fallen Society, the Prime is the one that gives the ether. In some ways, can we say that Axis is the one that gives the Siva? Like, do you think he controls the Siva, therefore he takes on the title of Prime? Because if you look at Sepix, who used to be the Devil's Prime, Sepix Prime is no longer a Prime anymore. It's just Sepix perfected. Mm-hmm. The Prime is completely dropped from it.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I think the implications there is that Axis not only perceives himself as the creator of Siva, or for the intent of the devils, the creator of Siva, but also the grantor of the Siva. And he also interprets the Siva. He is all 3 of the triumvirate made into one. Which, if you know...
Kel to him, though. There's no Kel.
Well, which was interesting to me, because I'm like, that for me, that always kind of hung me up. But I mean, if you think about it, he doesn't have Kel in his name, but he was really kind of acting like a Kel. Which, going back to the Roman triumvirate, there was a figure who did that. Some people know him. You might not. His name was Caesar.
What?
That's where you get the term dictator. I mean, that's kind of where that comes from, that concept. But
Et tu, Blute?
You and high five.
Don't cross.
Oh, it's getting creepy.
Don't cross the Rubicon here, okay?
It just got creepy. Oh no.
Okay, we're hive minding it up in here.
I consume enhance replicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is. So
you guys like that sound?
I love it.
That's a really good soundbite.
It took me.
I love that Axis calls his little house the Perfection Complex. That's what I call my house.
But for different reasons. For different reasons.
So it's funny to me that he needs offerings of Siva. This is the funny part, because I'm almost viewing his little Twizzler nest as kind of a Siva nexus.
It's a bunch of it's like Twizzler straws just feeding in the Siva. It's like sticking a Twizzler in a Dr. Pepper and just constantly getting the goodness.
Oh my God, why would you ruin a Dr. Pepper in such a fashion?
I know, I don't know. That's heresy. But so going back to Blackbeard's post, he actually does talk about that. And I'm just going to read what he says about this. So this segment's called Sweet Bunker Bro. And he says, before I get into what I think the Perfection Chamber is, I'd like to talk about the bunker where it's located. I think this is the research facility mentioned in the Grimoire that it's built during the Golden Age to study and test Siva. It's clear when first entering it, after you jump off the wall and then jump down the series of Fallen-made catwalks, that the Fallen have dug deep and found an entrance to a bunker that looks like a lot like one of Rasputin's. Once the project left Clovis Bray, they were handed new digs on Earth to finish testing before full-scale replication could begin. This is the sections we've labeled as the, quote, server room, canister room, and the room in between with the terminal. However, I don't think the Perfection Chamber was originally part of the facility. I think that the chamber was made recently by Axis with the help of Siva. But what the hell is he doing down there? Why hide your magnificent perfection from the world? And that's where he kind of jumps into, you look at what Siva does and how Fallen choose their leader, or the leader. And so that's where he kind of jumps into another section where he basically lays out the idea that he's growing. It's not necessarily, Axis is not in his final form when we basically interrupt this entire thing. We jump into this in the middle of his development. And so he presents this idea of the perfection chamber and the complex as a whole as an egg, what's the not a world, it's kind of a world egg, kind of what everyone thinks the Traveler is. That's what Axis has created in the perfection chamber, is a place to incubate himself as he grows, because the quote magic of Siva, all he does in the perfection chamber is sit there, right? He's having
controls
all these
things from his chamber.
Right.
I imagine he's sending out messages via whatever comm link they have
via Siva, because all
Via
the tendrils
Siva?
are flowing into him. They're feeding him stuff. I mean, remember, Siva was designed to take materials and build things from them. So they consume, they enhance, and then they replicate. And the reason why I kind of like this theory is it actually adds a really, really strong logical reason for the code structure. You know, everyone kind of makes fun of Axis as, oh, he didn't know what he was doing, blah, 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 because he didn't put an escape path. No, he knew exactly what he was doing. He's trying to grow without limit. He doesn't want to stop growing because as a Fallen, he interprets the size of the entity as their power level. Right? That is their placement in hierarchy.
Right.
If he gets so big that he is larger than anything in creation, he is, by definition, in the Fallen mindset and in the Fallen psyche, the most powerful figure in creation. Unfettered.
So he's
growth.
like-
about the size. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say is he's trying to grow without limit. So it's not that he didn't program an escape path into the code, because unfettered growth is the escape path. Because when he doesn't want the logic to stop. He wants it to continue to grow.
Is that like God doesn't need a back door type thing? Like,
Yeah,
Kind of.
kind
you're
of.
going to
Yeah,
grow
kind of.
that.
Right. Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
going to grow that powerful, you don't need an escape route.
Well,
I
he
guess.
doesn't. I mean, he doesn't. But the thing is like he doesn't care, because either it's, and it kind of goes back to what we see with Oryx too. You know, with the logic of the sword. He's like, either I'm going to prove my right to existence, or someone else is going to prove their right to existence. But either way, the logic is going to be held. You have to prove that you have the right to exist. That's kind of what's
Okay.
going on here.
That being said, you have access when you first get to the chamber itself. He's actually in the wall. He is
Yeah.
a part of the chamber itself. So if what you're saying, Blue, with him trying to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, in some ways we've already damaged him. If you
Mhm.
think about us blowing up the Siva strand, it goes from that wherever the shipyard type thing place is, all the way to the actual Archons Forge.
Right.
We
Right.
blew it up in one of the earlier missions. So in some ways, we've already damaged access before we even get into the raid. And then it isn't until we do more damage and basically disconnect or like take out some more of the Siva power for him that he has to shrink himself essentially into the mobile form that we at the very, very end. It makes sense. But he has to detach. He has to completely undo. He has to dock himself.
Right. Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So-
He's having to deal with us, the virus that has infected his virus. Go, Justin.
Does anyone else have a problem with the fact that when you enter the perfection chamber, Axis is docked in his little Twizzler nest, like Quado from Total Recall? That's about how mobile he is. He's just there. And then you do a certain amount of damage to him, and then all of a sudden he says, "You know what? I'm done effing around. It's time. It's time for spider legs." And then he mounts on this gigantic, really impressive spider leg rig.
Oh, I know.
And you're like, "Oh my god, this spider's going to crawl all over the place and it's going to be super scary. He's like, no, bro, not going to crawl. Going to teleport. He walks nowhere. Why does he have spider legs?
I love how this is like
bothers the crap out of me. It's every single time we do this raid, I'm like, oh no, I got my new legs. Teleport. Teleport.
Okay.
You know what they should have done is totally should have done the what was it, the Ocarina of Time, the first boss, where the spider's on the freaking ceiling. You know what I mean? Do you remember that? It's like the spider's up on the ceiling and he drops down on you. Oh man, what's worse than a crawling spider? A teleporting spider.
But
go for it.
No, go ahead,
Justin. So Archons. I cannot remember. Do Archons have 4 arms or 2 arms?
4.
Four.
Everything except for dregs have 4.
Axis does not have 4 arms. He only has 2. So, Justin, here's where your spider leg thing. This is just me spin foiling. His second set of arms, which aren't being used for anything, have been transformed into legs to be more stable. So he has a bigger booty to shake all over the place and teleport, you know.
Huh.
We didn't say it.
Huh.
We didn't say it.
Axis has a bigger booty.
Yeah. Badonkadonk time.
You know what Justin is going to go to now. We're getting memes.
No.
We're getting memes from this episode.
Yeah, we're gonna get memes. So yeah, I mean that could very well be. That could very well be. It could also just be that the whole arm docking kind of structure that's kind of ingrained in the Fallen hierarchy just doesn't apply anymore. You know what I mean? Like
he's broken all the old rules. Why not break
all the
them?
old rules? Yeah, all the old rules are out the window at this point.
I'm sorry. Every time I see Axis, all I see is a Drider.
Oh, Drider. Oh, D&D episode that's coming soon.
Yes!
If you don't know, we're going to be doing a D&D episode very shortly.
Next week. I might be a little
all I
excited.
see when I see Axis is someone who sat in gum and then later got spider legs.
Gosh.
That's all I see.
Justin really, really has a problem with Axis.
I do. I'm sorry.
The other thing is
Even Crota with his, I'm gonna kill you guys. I'm gonna kill. Oh, they went in a room. I'm gonna wait.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kill them again. Oh, they went in a room again. I'm gonna wait.
Oh, man.
Green's gonna talk each time. She's tired of it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's one of those nights. The other thing that drives me crazy about Axis, since we're just going to rag on him a little bit, this is the second boss that we've had a fight that we do something to his back, where his back opens up. Why does Axis have a port in his back?
Obviously,
is that where the matrix, where he logs into the Matrix?
That's what I was just about to say. I was like, obviously, that's the only place in your anatomy that can support the Matrix. I mean, come on now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything.
I love how both of us are waiting for Justin to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done.
We're not going to talk because you're just going to interrupt us.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
Okay, so before we move on to like items quest, I want to jump one more thing as far as the raid mechanics go. Why are we empowered with Siva? Or whether it's with Siva or without Siva, why do we get empowered?
Because we're special.
No.
Space magic.
I want a reason. I want a reason.
Well, and I guess that kind of ties into the other theory that I found. The nanite theory.
The fact that we had been infected with the nanite,
and that
therefore we can take on the energy
Yep, because the theory for the nanite, this is from another Reddit theory that I found. This one's from John Demonsbane. He actually points out that, that a lot of people are convinced that the nanites from the transmission event are Siva. And it's a popular theory. Except for a couple issues. First off, Siva is not self-aware. As Bungie themselves have blatantly stated, it needs a mind to control it. And this is where he's like, think of it less like Skynet trying to take everything over and more like the microbots from Big Hero 6. I love that. I don't know if I'll ever meet this guy, but I want to shake his hand just from that statement because it completely agree with it. But he goes on to point out that, the Iron Lords had to trap themselves along with Siva, and, all these previous Guardians had encountered Siva, and they had a big problem with it. The Fallen have encountered Siva. There's a big problem with it, But what's the difference? What's the difference between those individuals and us? Well, it's not that we use light, because guess what? The Iron Lords used light as well. It's not because we're super special, because that just really, like Green was just kind of rolling her eyes at me. That's not really a legit answer. The really big thing that's different is, well, what just happened to us? We all got infected with space AIDS. It's like, Jesus, what is going on? So the idea is that what if the nanites are actually anti-Siva?
Actually, I'll take you one step further, Blue. What if we were inoculated?
Right.
Because
Which is, and that's kind of where it
came before.
Oh,
Siva
yeah.
Because the nanites were the original experiments, and then Siva was developed by Bray after the research had already been done with the others.
Yeah, and the right, and I remember because I remember us talking about the development cycle of Siva a little bit. Mm-hmm. He kind of takes it in it's similar, but it's a little bit different. So I'm just gonna read, because I can't put this in better words than obviously he has already put it in. He says, quote, "These mites, splendor, etc., are a different technology. Think of it as either incompatible hardware or a non-compatible OS that Siva is unable to interface with. Let's assume that whatever firmware or other technology the Iron Lord's armor was based on is still in use today. This makes us just as vulnerable to Siva as they were, and the outcome of the battle might be the same if nothing had changed. By this technology overriding the existing systems in our armor, it becomes immune to Siva, like a Windows virus trying to attack a Mac. It just doesn't work. Therefore, we can fight Siva, and more importantly, whatever is controlling it, without simultaneously having to worry about our technology becoming corrupted and being used against us." So, and end quote there. And so basically the concept and his conclusion is basically, if the nanites are Siva, that means that Siva has already attacked every single Guardian and infected them. So if it's Siva, then why are we not being controlled by Axis in the same capacity that the splicers are? Because it's Siva, it would be the same tech. So it's got to be different tech, because even if it's a variant of the technology, it's on a different system, right? It's completely not
different command line.
Right. It's a completely different command structure. It would be like trying to tell Oracle database what to do with a SQL query. It might work. It probably won't, because while they're very similar, it doesn't, they don't understand each other. It's like talking in Spanish and Portuguese. It's same language technically, but not.
Same base language.
Right. Two different, is it dialects technically?
No, it's not a dialect. It's two different languages, but they both have the same root language.
Root language, okay.
Yeah.
The Romance languages, Italian,
right,
French, and all of them. They all have the same roots, but different, very, very different.
So, I like that theory too, because it really does explain because that's a thing that bugs me too about the whole Siva thing, is like, we've watched Guardians go up against Siva and completely get destroyed. because their own tech was being used against them. So what is different? What is different about us? I mean, other than, this paltry space magic, and we're the and yes, we could be one of the strongest in the city, and sure, that is true, but that doesn't explain how our tech isn't being used against us.
We're not immune to Siva, though.
Right. Well, I mean,
in the final battle with Axis, he's actually able to. God, I can't remember the text that pops up after,
Empowered.
like when you need to jump. Well, no, when you need to jump to the plates to keep from getting killed. What is the text that comes, like how he kills you if you
the critical Siva damage.
Yeah, the Siva density gets critical. And
Right.
it actually will kill you if you're not standing on a special plate that will, make you immune to it. So I mean, we're not completely immune to this Siva, the influence of it. I think we're just very powerful.
I think we're inoculated. I like the idea of us being inoculated with the sector, the transmission, whatever that was called, the transmission. What was it, Blue?
The transmission event?
The transmission, event. Yeah. That's what it was. Easy word. Can't remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with the owl sector. Yeah. I'm completely with that. I think it's been overwritten with our lights, so to speak. And
and that was another
of a perversion of the Siva code.
Right. And that was another theory I think DJ had in chat, was we actually wrench control a bit from Axis using our light, not using command, not using logic. It was literally using our light. We wrench command from them. But I'm thinking. Yeah, I guess my only other thing with the nanites, the nanites being Siva tech, my only problem with this one is that the nanites for each one, so we have brilliance, glory, splendor, magnificence, and fortitude, right? And each of these obviously come with different colors, which we've already discussed. But not only that, but they also really had some wild, I hesitate to even say augmentations. Like, for example, brilliance. You had patient B with brilliance who went into a coma, then woke up and literally just sang and danced, and then suddenly disappeared. Like, just disappeared, straight up. Like, and it was like, okay, I think Glory was June, which was one of my favorite patients. He was in very good health, and he was extremely pessimistic. I kind of almost point to Cade as a situation like that. And then, like, Splendor, you had the super aggression and improvement to strength and intelligence. So they became super strong, and they became a Spartan 2. And then Magnificence, you had the individual, let me see, individual saw phantom insects, eventually eventually manifested flight, and then went unconscious, and I believe eventually died. And then patient D was fortitude, and basically throughout the process of the observance, their voice got lower and lower and lower and lower, and then eventually they went completely mute. Whereas with Siva, we kind of, what's that?
Yeah, softer.
Yeah.
Lower makes it sound like
sorry.
pitch,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, softer. Sorry. He started whispering, and then I think one day they said he walked in and he just was completely mute, like he couldn't talk at all. Whereas with Siva is, and I keep going back to this, Siva is a construction thing. It was designed. Oh god, what is the ghost fragment that I completely blank on every time I talk about this? It's the one with Rasputin sending Siva out into the deep reaches of space. And it's told from the frame's perspective. But he Siva is meant to be a colonization tool. It's meant to be sent so that humanity doesn't have to go. And then, so the concept is you send a package of Siva, and then you send humans, and then by the time the humanity will reach the planet, the Siva will have already constructed a pretty much a city for them to be at. So that's where Siva, and I just don't see the connection between the nanites and Siva in that regard. If that makes sense.
Yeah. These really awful things rarely ever come from really awful intentions.
Right. Well, yeah. And I mean, yeah.
It's usually some grand, really altruistic type intention that's tied to this thing that goes sideways. It almost reminds me of the Reavers from Firefly.
Oh, this Siva reminds me of replicators from Stargate.
Oh God, those things are terrifying.
Right. Okay. Qualification here: replicators without self-awareness, which is a very important distinction.
Right.
Very important distinction. So it's replicators without self-awareness.
It almost reminds me of text bots, but they're not as bad as text bots.
No, mine are totally more sophisticated than this. What?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Get over here.
Get over here.
No, that's Botwinder. That's something different.
That's Botwinder. Yeah, that's another one of the bots that I have harassing Justin.
All the bots.
So, do we want to talk about some of these items that are
we can talk
Sivad up?
Yeah, or the evolution of our weaponry.
Yeah. So, Green, why don't you run through the basic armor classes?
Okay, so when we
Since
play
I'm deciding
through and we get the different armor pieces for the raid. They are Nanomania for the hunters, Cosmoclast for the titans, and the red miasmas for warlocks. Blue, you had some notes on these different meanings of that. I don't have any.
Yeah. Okay. So
as of yet, but
okay, no worries. So the cool thing with the armor sets is, first off, we have the standard difference between heroic and normal. Heroic mode grants an armor called spliced variant, and then the artifact will also be perfected instead of just it'll just be nanomania. And then spliced nanomania. And then you have a Siva shard or perfected Siva shard, depending on the difficulty of the raid. The fun thing here is that within the armor is actually a conversation between two individuals, a WB and a CL. Now, most people kind of agree that WB is Bray and and CL is General Chin Lanshu, which we recognize from a Ghost Fragment Rasputin, who kind of has a personality of teasing Rasputin. But yeah, so going into the names a little bit here. So for the hunter set, Nanomania is a concatenation of two words, nano, which is a unit prefix that means 1/billionth. And it's usually used to indicate something extremely small, like a nanosecond, a nano machine, something of that nature. And mania. Mania is a mental illness that's marked by periods of great excitement, euphoria, delusions, and overactivity. You commonly would hear of mania as a part of a bipolar disorder, because then you would have mania episodes and depressed episodes, and that's kind of where the bipolar concept comes from. But it is possible for an individual to just be manic. It's a bit rare, but it is possible. Then we go to the Cosmoclast. This is another concatenation of two different words. You have cosmo, which is relating to the world or the universe, and then class, which is a suffix that basically means something that breaks. So your and let me go back real quick. Nanomania is literally talking about a mental illness that's marked by periods of great excitement and euphoria, but it's extremely small. So you have a small burst of euphoria whenever you put this armor on. It's kind of the connection that you get there. Now, Cosmoclass is the Titan set, and this is relating to the breaking of the world or the universe. That's what a Cosmoclass would be. You also have another item in Destiny that Justin especially loves, the Mythoclass. It's the breaking of a myth. Anytime you see a class on top of or at the end of a word, the suffix means that it breaks it.
Osiris was an iconoclast.
Right. So was Ikora.
Yeah.
And a iconoclast is an individual who rises up against an established authoritative icon, the traveler. That's what an iconoclast was. So that will bring us to the Warlock set, which is the red miasma. Red is kind of, there you go. It's red. I mean, everyone kind of knows red. But a miasma, and I see chat's kind of talking about this as well. Miasma is actually, there's a number of different ways you can read miasma. The first one is generally just when you're talking about thematic natures, it's usually a dangerous or foreboding or death-like influence or atmosphere. But you can also have a miasma, which is understood to be an oppressive or unpleasant atmosphere that surrounds or emanates from something, or even the noxious exhalations from a putrescent organic matter, usually seen as poisonous, effluvia or germs polluting the atmosphere. So you actually have miasma as both a literary tool, a literary thematic idea. You can have it as the psychological miasma, which is something that you feel oppressive, or you feel extremely uncomfortable, extremely unpleasant, or it's actually a physical cloud of poisonous gas that actually emanates from different organic matter. That being, you have the red miasma, which kind of connects back into the conversation that we had about the nanites. Then, Charm just put that in chat. And what do the Siva nodes have floating around them? A miasma of Siva nanites. There you go. That's the connection. So those are the definitions of the words as far as I was able to find for this one.
Yeah, it's actually miasma is actually refers to, and I always find these really interesting, but an obsolete medical practice where doctors actually believed that most, if not all, diseases were caused by bad air.
Yes. Which is where you
also called night air is pretty much like a death cloud.
Yep. And that's where you get.
And actually, the term for malaria is actually, the term for malaria is actually Latin for bad air. But
that's the way they wore the death mask.
Yep, that's right.
They kind of decided this was not the case afterwards.
Well, it derives from the ancient understanding of humors, which is the idea that the body is controlled by the different humors and the balances of liquids within the body. Yeah. So you have, I think it was 4, depending on the school of thought, you either had like 4 or 5. So that would then translate into one of the ways that you could get rid of humors is, obviously through, that's where you get bloodletting. People would actually be cut, and leeches. Leeches were very common. And the thought there is that they filtered the blood. They filtered one of the humors, blood being one of the humors. But that's also where you get, green, the death mask, which actually I just saw someone post on Twitter that they just learned that. And I was like, really? That's interesting. The death mask is the giant, so everyone will probably recognize it. It's the giant bird mask that everyone kind of thinks is like really creepy. These masks, what they were doctors would wear them, especially in cities that were ridden with plague, not only to protect themselves from what they believe, like what Justin was just saying, the miasma or the death cloud, but also just simply because it was such a powerful stench that they would actually pack herbs and different plant material into those noses. So those giant noses, they would pack things into that to actually mask the smell, like because it was so overpowering that they couldn't do their jobs basically. So that's always been an interesting thing that I always thought was kind of fun. But yeah, that does tie back into the miasma a bit.
If you want a video game reference for it, go back and play some of the Assassin's Creed games. It's all over the place.
I think, wasn't it one of the multiplayer characters?
Yes, it was. Can't remember.
I think it was the Doctor. I know. It was Revelations. I think it was Revelations that you
Revelations. Yeah, because that was still in Europe.
Mm-hmm. All right, you want to chat about the weapons real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
So, do we want to talk about the slight change that happens to the weapons? Because we have like the legendary versions, and their actual coding is slightly different. Coding / names have added quantities.
Yeah. Because I think we get don't we get the exotics? You mean, are you talking the exotics differences?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the main difference that I was noticing is the parentheses. The tilde is still there.
Mm-hmm. They add a double parentheses on each side, and then you get a different type of text with it. The text is definitely not the same as the legendary at all.
Right. Sorry. Yes, the flavor text. I'm sorry. I completely misunderstood that. Yes. And nope. Sorry. I was trying to figure out for like the Genesis chain. If you echo, so if input Siva echo Shirazi and output death, you ask not in vain. So basically,
that one's so disturbing.
Is death not in vain?
Yeah, it's
is
almost
Shirazi's death not in vain?
Are those his last words? Maybe.
I have one from my notes from the Owl Sector. One of my quotes from Shirazi was, "Remember who watches you." I liked Shirazi. Shirazi was a really interesting. And then Yoon had a quote that Clovis Bray destroys the world to remake it in their own image. That's their goal. Everything and everyone dies. The more you try to cheat death, the more you try to profit from life, the sooner we die. Bam, bam, bam.
The building of the Exos.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I just read June and I see the really cool Spartan from Halo Reach.
I do the same thing. And he has the same attitude. That's the problem. That's my
Pretty
problem
much.
is he has the same. I could see him sitting in the corner carving.
And then
carving
I
the
just
skull
get
on his
Halo
helmet.
Reach feels. And that's not productive for me to have Halo Reach feels. So I'm almost done at that point. So it's bad time.
So yeah, following the progression of the Genesis chain. So we have the creepy new code on the what are these called? The Adept? Is that what they're being called now?
Not adept. Yeah. I mean,
it's an exotic. It's the exotic form of it.
Yeah.
So the Genesis chain, you have the code structure on the exotic, but then on the legendary, you have a different one, and it's Suros ARI 41. Insert Siva in this current projectile, which basically explains where this gun came from. This gun, and Rhino did an amazing job. I have linked this also on the mind map, but the Genesis chain actually comes from a gun that we have in game, the Suros ARI 41. That is actually a game. That's actually a game. That is actually a gun that we have in the game. And it is a legendary. Flavor text is really usual for Suros. It's balance, flexibility, style. Suros. It's an auto rifle, which means I never look twice at it. But yeah, that was the evolution path for the Genesis chain. Green, do you want to talk about the chaos dogma?
Sure.
I just like the name of
Chaos
it.
Dogma. Oh, I know. It's fun. It's fun. Dogma of Chaos. Anyway, the exotic version of it says replicate, pain, consume enemies, override Sig, gunsmith. So Siva is fighting the gunsmith in this one, or trying to override it. And my little theory on this one actually gets confirmed on the next gun a little bit. Just the fact that the gunsmith just gets messed with a little bit. And then I'm going to pull up the legendary version of the legendary version says consume enhance replicate will drown your enemies. So that fun little line over. So it's just like normal.
And that's connection to the Coditus SR4, the Amalon one,
Right.
which actually all of them connect back to it, even because the Coditus SR4 is the Amalon Coditus SR4 will drown your enemies in a river of pain. So then in your Chaos Dogma, you have the will drown your enemies. And then in the exotic, you have replicate pain, consume enemies, override Sig gunsmith. So you have the replication of pain when you consume enemies.
Yeah. And then, Justin, do you have Steel Medulla pulled up?
Yes, I
Or the
do.
exotic version of it?
Steel
So-
medulla.
The Steel Medulla. Making sure I've got the exact. I see replicate, devastate your foes, consume, Herja, repeat. I'm actually seeing two of the same on that one.
Yeah,
I
they
pulled
have
up. I had to
have three
search for the
iterations.
other one.
Click it again. I fixed it for you.
Oh, you fixed it?
I'm
You're
just
awesome.
that quick.
Enhance, devastate, consume foes, repeat, insert, ban, shield, interrupt, override. Banshee interrupt, sorry, override, which is really weird.
Uh-huh. That's why I was saying. It's like they're messing with the weaponsmith.
Yeah.
Banshee
Well,
interrupt.
not like he has enough problems going on already.
Now his 3D printer is getting infected by C.
Yeah.
He is
And
so
he's-
pissed at this point.
He's like looking down and going, now the guns are effing with me. I'm done. I'm done. I'm too old for this. And he's done. Yeah. So Charm Pluto from chat hits it on the head. The Steel Medulla is the Herja D from Haka. It's the Haka pulse rifle.
And just as a side note, all of these guns that they were beforehand were guns that you could get from the gunsmith during the. It's just the gunsmith weapons that you could pick up easily.
Which makes it so much better because you know Banshee's like, I hate all of you.
Uh-huh.
No one wanted these when I had made them.
The other thing is medulla is an anatomy term, which usually is referred. Usually you hear it and you think of the medulla oblongata, but a medulla is the inner region of an organ or tissue that is especially distinguished from the outer region or cortex. So you have like the kidney, the adrenal gland, and the hair, and the medulla oblongata. Yeah, it's the innards. It's the innard stuff. It's the stuff that keeps
oblongata.
you. It's the stuff that keeps you lukewarm. No.
Lukewarm.
Medulla oblongata's broke. Oh, the Steel Medulla. I actually don't have that one, so.
You want to
I
talk
don't have the next one.
the fevered ribbon?
I don't either.
It sounds like Justin has a problem with this situation.
I don't either. Might be enough to make me go bang my head against the wall against ass kiss.
You want to read it for me?
Yeah. Fever and remedy. Replicate. Encourage. Strongly enhance. Sig. Escher Zhang. Yeah. So, the fever and remedy. It's an exotic hand cannon. Only available in the Wrath of the Machine raid.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I really like about Bungie is how they're very deliberate in their punctuation.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's probably a very deliberate code in their punctuation that if we knew, it would probably tell us a whole bunch.
I'm sorry.
Like-
I've got distracted by MC Escher prints now.
Yeah.
So we now know the first name of Dr. Zhang because Dr. Zhang was part of the original experiments.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, or is this an Escher Zhang collabo?
Oh God! Why do you do this? Oh my gosh! Now
I'm
what
just
I have in my head is an Escher print with Siva.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why?
Like
Why not?
stairs going forever. With Twizzlers all
It's
over.
endless
Twizzler
Twizzlers. It's
Twizzler
endless.
stairs. I wasn't saying that, by the way. I was saying that maybe there's another character named Escher
No,
who
you've
collaborated
ruined
with another character named
You've
Zhang.
ruined it. We're done.
Why is
Shoutouts,
everyone
go.
mad at me?
Why
I
is
didn't
everyone
do it.
mad at me?
I didn't do it.
This one is basically an evolved form of the Judith D, which is a hand cannon. I just really, really like that one.
Excuse you.
Now that we've had a
legendary
fever,
basically.
maybe it's time for an outbreak.
Well, hang on real quick. I do want to make a.
Oh my god, that was the mother of all segues.
Yeah,
You
I
just
know.
killed it.
I cut off its head, which is actually the segue back into Judith, because Judith from the Book of Judith in the Bible, it is actually the reason why I bring this up is if you pull up Judith D, the flavor text is headshots are strongly encouraged with the powerful Judith D. If you are familiar with the Book of Judith, you know that kind of happens with I think his name was Holofernes. Yeah, he ended up without a head because Judith is not fun. But yeah.
Biblical reference.
So there you go. Go back. What was that segue, Justin? Something about a fever.
Moving from a fever to a full-scale outbreak is green-eyed music lover. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Outbreak Prime, and this one does not have the typical kind of flavor text we've seen so far. And it says, this is an advanced Golden Age technology tied to the death of some of the light's greatest champions. It's currently being used as a tool of the Fallen to push the limits of bioevolutionary realities. And you're kit bashing it together with projectile-based war systems to make a handheld mechanism that delivers aggressive nanomites? Ghost. That's one way to put it. All I know is when you pull the trigger, 1 + 1 = 0 every time. I've done the math. 0, 4.
I love that response. He's like, that's nice. But when you shoot things, they dead. So
Yeah.
That is the single greatest mathematical theorem ever come up with. So 1 + 1 = 0 every time.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, one round of this gun plus 1 of you equals 0, which means you're dead.
Yeah.
Is what I got from it.
So this quest was fun.
I'm gonna be real honest. I'm gonna be real honest. No.
No? Blue?
No. Couldn't be bothered.
Nope.
You don't either? Okay.
He would actually have to like.
Oh, he'd have to do the raid. Never mind.
Oh,
yeah, he'd have to do this raid to do it.
Oh my gosh.
No, me honestly, like I'm a big pulse rifle guy, so I don't know why I don't have this one. I just been super busy and haven't gotten around to.
No worries. The gun is super. It makes the raid so much easier because with the burst. So if you get a headshot on it, one of the perks allows a burst of nanomites of Siva, and they go and seek out other enemies. So it kind of is like a twofer almost, or at least
Makes
it
a
does damage
cloud.
on them. Oh,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. It's really nice, and you can just kind of take down Vosuk really quickly because of all the different ads that are there. You can take that and then pop him with a sniper rifle. It's fun. But yeah, if you don't like binary, find a math teacher friend or learn it because it's not hard. It just looks hard.
It's just
not
on or
hard.
off. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I like
such a gross oversimplification. It is not just on
It
and
is.
off. Before
It
I
is
get
not just ones and zeros.
Before I
you
get in
get a
trouble
bunch
with
of
that,
angry
that
tweets.
is not binary by any means.
Mm-mm.
It is just ones and zeros, but it's not just ones and zeros.
But
Yeah.
it's not bad once you figure out how
That's
to
the
use
worst explanation of anything I've ever given. So. Oh.
What's next on the weapons? We got
So yeah, no one cares about fusion rifles, so we should move on. No, I'm just kidding. Hurt or kill me. No, the Ether Nova, the Thesin FR4, Hasten the Siva replication. Yeah, so that's a weird one.
do.
Like literally, this is like stuff my computer would tell me when my Norton's about to run out, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll
Hasten.
know it later.
Hasten. Why? Why do I need to hasten?
Everyone has a very visceral connection to the Ether Nova, apparently. Yeah,
I don't like the gun.
I'm getting death threats. You better calm it down, Green.
That's okay. Everyone knows I hate fusion rifles and would rather play with a sidearm.
Thesan and yeah, so there's that one, and what do we got?
Quantaplasm,
Quantum Plasm.
which is there's not a big version of this or an exotic version of it.
No, there is
It's just-
only
yeah.
only exotics of the primaries.
It's just
Okay.
a shotgun.
It's a pretty decent shotgun though.
Yeah, it's
Based
a
off
shotgun.
of Dido A. Okay, so
It's not a sniper rifle. It's just a
no, it's
shotgun.
not a sniper rifle.
I knew exactly why he was. I was like, it's not a sniper rifle. He's not gonna like it.
Why isn't
Well,
there a
okay.
sniper rifle? This is a good question.
It was a sniper rifle until they patched it.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying why is there not a legit sniper rifle?
There is.
I'm so confused what we're arguing about at this point.
Anyway, Dido A, Wonder Your Journey with Siva is the flavor text guy.
And then
Yeah, there's a.
and then
Why isn't the sniper?
well, and then
There's
on the
not.
Dido A, Wanderer, your journey will end with victory.
Okay, so there is a sniper rifle for the raid, but what is it called?
It's the heroic. It's the heroic mode. It's the X.
It's the X Machina.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Machina. See, next one. There you go, Justin.
Just keep going down. Keep scrolling down, Justin.
Well,
I'm
I
getting
love how
there.
he gets
Yeah,
like so
blue.
pissed. He gets so angry, and it's like,
I'm sorry.
It's the next line.
I'm sorry. It's Irene. Irene. Sneaky little Dickens. Ex Machina. So, Irene. If Siva return replicate / else if Siva run ascension. So apparently I don't even know. I'm not even gonna pretend to know. I'm pretty nerdy, but right now there is someone way nerdier than me just like completely laughing his ass off.
I just love I love the / LC
Else if and then the exclamation point before the word and then Siva in parentheses.
It's command. It's a command. It's identifying a variable. It's a variable. It's a dynamic command.
Broken parenthetical, Blue.
Broken parenthetical. God.
I'm done.
Oh my gosh. This is a Siva-fied version of the Irene RR4, which says, do you want to read that one?
That
was
crap sniper rifle. On its own.
I love that sniper rifle. That was a fun one.
I'm gonna tell all the people I work with, if they ever get mad at me, it's just a broken parenthetical. That's all.
The broken parenthetical.
Because apparently that is a legit excuse. The Irene RR4, the quote is, a new golden age is just over the horizon. With the Umlan Irene RR4, you'll be the first to see it coming. Dun dun dun. And then what are we on? We're on, well, Green, since you're kind of, these are in your wheelhouse, why don't you take the Zeal Vector?
Yeah, the one that I don't use, Zeal Vector.
Wait,
so it's based off
sidearms.
I do, but I don't use this one. I'm very particular, Justin. It's like a fine wine. If it's not right, you just don't drink it.
It's a sidearm.
Still,
They all
not right.
like. Okay, go. Come.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, I'll go. Pyrdery D or Pitery D, which I read that dyslexically as like Petrie for some reason. Long will replicate.
That's actually the sound the gun makes, so it's not.
Quack, 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 quack. And then, yeah, the Pitery D is just long will the poet sing of your deeds.
So, actually, Prydery is a prominent figure in Welsh mythology.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I can't really find anything else on Prydery that...
But he was a prominent figure.
Prominent figure in Welsh mythology.
It's just a Jabberwocky.
It's all okay. Can we be real? All sidearms are just a Jabberwocky. Okay.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Some of them
yeah.
shoot faster and shorter range.
Some of them actually. I have a sidearm that has like armor piercing rounds on it for some reason.
That's terrifying.
So I can actually knock it's terrifying because I can actually knock you around with a tiny little sidearm going bing, 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 bing.
A sidearm with armor piercing rounds is like a Vespa with nitrous oxide.
It's so good.
It's a slap in the face.
It's so good.
Oh.
Gosh.
I'm sorry. All the sidearm community. I'll take all the hate.
Well, I think we have one more. You want to talk about the not the Diluvian, it's the If Materia, which is the Sivified version of the Diluvian. It's the, I believe this is a machine gun. Is that correct?
I think you skipped the rocket launcher,
You
my
skipped
boy.
the rocket launcher.
I don't care about
Yeah.
the rocket launcher.
Okay,
Sound
well let's
and fury.
listen.
Okay, let's talk about sound and fury.
Lest we hear the sound and the fury of the Fraggle, we shall
that's
talk
true.
about
That's
the
true.
rocket launcher.
Go for it.
Replicate. Caution. Replicate. Overheating. Replication. Destabilization imminent. Suros.
The ending is the best part.
It's like, this is not a good message to put out to no, we need the brand name Suros. I love how I really like how Siva is really conscious of product placement.
Mm-hmm. All of these.
Brand loyalty. It's like, we have made really Siva-fied versions of these guns, but it's important to us that you know its original maker.
The Suros JLB.
Suros.
And let's see real quick. Sound and Fury. I think Rhino, didn't Rhino do a lore card on this one? I believe he did. It's basically it's a line from the soliloquy in Macbeth. Is the one that I guess apparently it's also a film. I did not know this. It's apparently a 2000 documentary on deaf children and cochlear implants. So that I learned something.
Like,
I learned something new today.
In their ear.
Yeah. So yeah. It's from, I believe it's Macbeth. It's Act 5, I think, was where it was. But yeah, it's a soliloquy of sound and fury, told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Oh, that's from the big. Yeah, that's that fun soliloquy with.
Yeah,
it's brief light.
It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. So, life is but a
The
walking
poor
shadow.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great line. Such a good soliloquy. Anyway, Shakespeare.
Nostalgia is a weapon of war. Style is a hallmark of victory. Suros.
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 All right.
All right, so let's finish this. I don't know what this is anymore. This thing with If Materia,
If materia.
which is based off of the Diluvian 10-4X, and it says tossed upon the seas of war and Siva. Is that a line from something? It looks like it's a line.
It is a derivative of the Diluvian 10-4X, which is tossed upon the seas of war and tragedy. Diluvian is actually a term that refers to a flood. You usually have the antediluvian, which is, if you've ever played Vampire the Masquerade, you'll probably recognize that term, which is a big White Wolf game. But a diluvian is the flood, basically, from the biblical flood.
Antediluvian is actually before Noah's flood, right?
Yes. So not antediluvian, it's antediluvian. Is also alternative
preceding.
Yeah, pre-diluvian or pre-flood or even tertiary, apparently. I have no idea. So the antediluvian period is before the deluge, is the time period referred to in the Bible between the fall of humans and the Noachian deluge, which is the Genesis flood.
I always took this to mean that this machine gun was just a flood of bullets.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that is kind of tossed upon the seas of war and tragedy. I mean, that is kind of where they're going with that. I don't know if that's a line from anything.
Couldn't find anything on it.
It should be.
If it's not, it should be.
Someone needs to go write a book about tossed on the seas of war and tragedy.
They call me Ishmael.
No. God.
Oh.
I'm trying to see if it's in the Highwayman, but I don't think it is. No, I don't think it was. Okay. So that is the weapons and their evolutionary path through the catalyst of Siva. And like I said, we actually have a really, really cool, I guess you would call it analysis of the evolution that Rhino put together. And then he actually later sent me an updated image of the normal weapons and the heroic mode weapons that would include the exotic variants. So we have that all linked on the mind map, which will be in the show notes for this episode. And I'm thinking the only other big thing that really stood out to me was the shaders. Do you want me to run through those just real quick? Because they're pretty. There's some pretty nice little things. So there's two shaders. There's the incarnadine and the nanopoiesis. So I'm going to start with the incarnadine. The incarnadine is actually a name for a color, and it is bright crimson or pinkish red, especially blood red. Which, if you've seen anything to do with Siva, you should probably make that connection. Carn is actually the Latin root for flesh, and incarnates is Latin for flesh covered. So you kind of you have an etymology process here of English speakers picked up the pinkish sense of incarnadine back in the late 1500s. And since then, the adjective has come to refer to the dark red color of freshly cut, fleshy meat, as well as the pinkish color of the outer skin of some humans. The word can be used as a verb too, meaning to redden, which was used in Shakespeare in Macbeth when he says, "Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand would rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red." So that is actually got some history behind it on that one. And then nanopoiesis, again, we kind of talked about this with the apotheosis. Poiesis is the process of making, production, creation, creativity, or culture. And then it also means the formation or production of. So if you remember nano being very, very small, this is the process of, or in the formation or production of a nano thing.
Something.
Yeah, which, I mean, I would assume here it's kind of pointing back to the nano machine, but do what you will with those. And then I think that is pretty much it. There is a quest, the Wrath of the Machine quest, which is not really got anything big. It's got 2 steps. The Metal and Flesh, and then Speak with Shiro 4. And basically it's, go kill this guy. Oh, hey, he came back. He must have killed that guy. That's pretty much the flavor text.
That was poetic.
I know, I try really hard to summarize things. Speaking of summaries, how about we go to final comments and shoutouts?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Green.
My comments are, if you want to know more about Siva, we did a Siva episode before, right?
Yes,
we did.
I have that. We actually have a directory listing of all our episodes and links to all their mind maps. We have that on our FFC, I guess FFC Google Drive, but it's linked in the Discord chat. If you just ask, we can pull up the directory link for you in there. So jump in there and definitely just give that a check if you don't want to scroll through multiple pages on the Podbean site, which I know if you're going back pretty far, it can get kind of tedious.
And I know in that episode we went through and did the transmission theory, or the transmission stuff, the owl sector stuff. So if you want to know more about that, definitely jump into that. The other shout out I have is for some awesome new puppy owners in Colorado who took that puppy away from us that was eating all the clothes of mine. I went and bought new clothes afterwards. I'm refilled on undergarments, luckily now. But they are happy with a happy new puppy, and I'm grateful. And then book chat, we're doing the survey for that, or the poll for that. Right now it's an 8-way tie, so please go and vote, because I don't want to have to pick, because if I have to pick, people are going to get mad at me. So go and vote for the book chat. The links will be in my Twitter and in Discord and places. So find that, and we will go over a new book next month.
Awesome. Justin?
Yeah, my shout-outs are pretty simple this week. Just big shout-out to my clan, DOD Shadow White crew, who's continually dragging me through raids and such, and helping me get some of these guns we're talking about each week. And I don't have much else. Shortest shout-outs ever.
Shortest shout-outs ever. Good job. Well, our email topic for next week is going to be a lore dive into the Sunbreaker. And I actually meant to mention this at the beginning of the episode, so if you are hearing this, and I congratulate you, and I'm very proud of you. But you probably have noticed that there isn't a poll this weekend. That is because due to a scheduling, not really a mishap, but it's just a scheduling conflict that came up on my side. We're not going to have a podcast stream on the 12th, which is 2 weeks from now, which just given the way the poll and the conversations for the chat kind of flow, that just means this weekend, we don't have a poll for the regular Focus Fire. We do have a poll running for our extra lore. That episode's going to be next Wednesday for the D&D conversation, and then so we're going to decide what we're talking about next. So that one is the poll that is running this weekend. So if you guys want to weigh in on that, please do let us know what you would like us to chat about. But yes, the poll will be back. I believe the general consensus when we talked about it in the Discord chat was that we were just going to kind of talk about general Destiny lore during the week for next week. Maybe some theories on what we're going to see in Destiny 2. And I believe there was a threat or two of a pun more. So if that's kind of your speed, keep an eye out. You might see some activity on that front. I will be avoiding that particular conflict like a plague.
Why?
Because that's painful.
No.
Ish.
You mean it's punful?
I hate all of you. I hate all. We're done. I'm not even doing outro.
The sound and the fury.
No. Denied. So yeah. So the poll will be back up next weekend. But yeah, that is why if you have any curiosity of why there's not a poll this weekend, that's what's happening. But yeah, other than that, just send us your emails on the Sunbreaker. That will be next week's topic is going to be Sunbreaker, but I'm looking forward to next week. We have a D&D conversation, and we're going to have the podcast on the Sunbreaker. So we get to talk about the Tink Tinks. And with that, let's jump through the outro, and then we'll have a little bit of an after show real quick. Sound good, guys?
Sounds good.
With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes each week, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our other sites can also be found with our episode archives over on www.focusfirechat.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any feedback or questions for our team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback on iTunes or through email as well. Be sure to check out our partner podcast within the Guardian Radio Network over on the guardiansofdestiny.com. So, until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.